times, don't feel bad to just put a question in the chat, raise your hand, right? So how the format is going to go, I just described what the Entrepreneurship Hub is for a bit, and then we have a super duper special speaker, right? And I'll tell you how we're going to interact with her. So I guess you see my screens. Is this Entrepreneurship Hub? All right. Ehub. Okay. Check us out at ehubtt.org. Go ahead to that website. Sign up for us. In a nutshell, what we intended to be is a chamber for micro entrepreneurs. Most of our persons that visit the hub or interact with the hub are micro entrepreneurs, which is like small business. And we are trying to be excellent in what we do. Sometimes chambers, they do have a fee to join, and they are kind of targeted slightly larger organizations like middle, and sometimes these small little burdens that we entrepreneurs have to cross over. You know, sometimes it's good to have someone like yourself or someone who could check and say, yes, this is the way, this is some resources that are best suited for you in particular. Right, so Ehub, this was born in collaboration with the US Embassy, right? They did a study and said, you know what, Trinidad and Tobago could do a really good entrepreneurship hub. And that's because when the US side perspective, we had a lot of security risk. Instead of persons going across ISIS, they could do better things with their time, like entrepreneurship. So they wanted to support entrepreneurship. From our end, we like, hey, Trinidad and Tobago was ranked very lowly with respect to entrepreneurship in the World Economic Forum report in 2019. And as entrepreneurs ourselves who benefited from programs from the US Embassy, how could we take the skills or values that are available and help share them to other entrepreneurs? So hence we came together, alumni and the embassy, and started the Entrepreneurship Hub. Right, we have a nice flowery vision here. In a sense, you want to promote best business practice, right? You want all entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, to follow best business practice and make things easier to do things here in Trinidad. So, yes, as I said. So, for example, you want to be able to say that Ehub, we collaborated with our stakeholders, the embassy, the local, regional, foreign chambers of commerce, regional corporations, and we collaborated with the banks to ensure access to banking and finances as least restrictive as possible. And all the major banks in Trinidad and Tobago agreed to adopt the processes set out in guidelines to opening a bank account in Trinidad and TNT. And this document will feature the worldwide best practice of opening bank accounts for entrepreneurs and ensures that the process is universal and easy. This is an example of what we as a hub want to do. Make sure things are easy to ensure that none of us could come back and say, wait, boy, dealing with banks is difficult. Now, such a challenge will be insurmountable or very difficult, any one of us to go and tackle. But as a collective, over 1,000 members strong, then we can say, hey, these are the challenges we face. Yes, Republic Bank, we hear that you want to do business with young entrepreneurs or small entrepreneurs. However, this is a certain challenge. Can you deal with it? It's not just Shem alone, or it's not just Marina alone saying that this is a challenge. It is all of us saying this is a challenge. Could your efforts be redirected elsewhere? And interestingly, we have spoken to the banks. Save our picture here. Yeah, you'll see it soon enough, right? But we've spoken to the banks and they surprisingly love entrepreneurs. You know, they want to give us money, they want to support us, they want to help us open up bank accounts. I remember in Superior, when we had the meeting, we were shocked, and Cooper, we were shocked that they cared so much. We did not know that. So there's a lot that we can do together. All right, so just some of the example resources you met so far. I mentioned some before. All of them love you guys. I want to do well for you guys. So just for us to connect more, right? Let's have some examples of projects: mapping the social entrepreneur landscape, Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, right? Financial literacy workshop with Dr. Joanne, one of the co-founders of the Ehub. This you probably bank folk, man. This of all the workshops we did, one of the most pivotal was just understanding the banks. They came and they sat down with us for about over 2 hours, and just understanding was really critical. All entrepreneurs were saying, wow, the most they ever, well, one of them said the most they ever spoke to a banker was when they went up to the line by a teller for 5 minutes. But just in this setting, having them explain what they look for in loans, what they look for in a bank account, how they check you out was really pivotal. We are going to doing another one, so we let you know. All right, export readiness with Export TT. All right, of course, what we need is we need your voice to be comfortable along with us. We cannot go to these entities and say, Simon have a problem, can you do this? It has to be all of us have a problem. Let's do this. Okay? Hence, join Ehub is super important. Joel, I see you, Joel. Make sure, just sign up and we send out all the messages because we want you to be there as well. All right. Oh, so this small business workshop series, this is the output, and this series is output of a grant funded by the US Embassy. And we are going to make use of their resources. But we didn't just want it from the US perspective. We wanted it to have a local expert. So you're going to hear from the US perspective, and then hear from the local and say, hey, the talking sense? What do you think? How would you translate this information in this local context? Right? So, and our local expert today is Charlene Pedro, founder and chief engagement officer at Conventus Consulting Inc., HR consultant, certified coach and mentor, international speaker, radio host, author. In my other hat as a photographer, when I go taking photos of these big organizations, I see Charlene on stage, teaching them, showing them what to do. So we get through today, guys, right? All the hard questions I cannot answer. I would direct them to Charlene. So she's gonna help. Charlene, do you want to say hello?
Absolutely. And yes, let them come, bring all your questions because we're here to learn. We're here to learn in a casual, relaxed environment. So I encourage you to take advantage of this time and the space you have right now. Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Always happy, to support your efforts. And I've been doing that through the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs for a few years. So obviously, I'm happy to lend my time and expertise in this space.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So there is this site, right? So I was lucky enough to go away on a program called Young Leaders of America's Initiative. That's what that YLI stands for. And afterwards, they created this website. You can click it. You'll get this link. It's also on the website. And they created this link with online courses. So if you went here, you could go see all of these information where they got like US experts to see this is what is required or how to obtain best practices in each of these areas. Exceptional stuff. And today we are doing management strategies for people and resources. Wait a minute, let me just make sure my share sound. Yes. Right. Great. Cool, so let's begin. The first lesson is leading people and change. Oh, let's hear what they have to say.
What is a leader? We have 3 learning objectives in this session. First, describe that a leader is someone who helps create positive change. 2, describe how leaders are not only those at the top of the organization, but leaders are those individuals who help to find creative solutions to problems. And 3, explain the factors that all leaders need to understand. Leaders are everywhere, at all corners of the globe, in all types of organizations, doing all types of work. Anyone who seeks to make the world a better place is a leader. Leaders are those who seek to make change. In politics, in business, or society, leaders always find themselves at the heart of change. Leaders help people, organizations, and societies navigate this change and help people find a better way to do things. One popular myth about leadership is that leaders are only the ones sitting at the top of an organization. A CEO of a major company, the president of a nation, or a champion leading social change. These are all leaders, but you don't have to have a formal title or role to be a leader. Leaders are those people who are able to influence others towards reaching a goal, completing a mission, or creating new ideas. Leaders are people who institute change, influence a situation, or can bring creative problem solving to existing problems. In short, leaders are those who advocate for positive change. Because leaders are always on the forefront of change, leaders find themselves in situations that are complex and dynamic. Complex situations require leaders to consider multiple factors when solving a problem. Leaders need to work with different groups of individuals, even when those groups of individuals may have competing interests. The leader finds ways to get these diverse groups to work together, and the leader takes action so that these different groups can continue to operate independently while minimizing conflict. Leaders not only face complex situations and need to navigate many different interests, but leaders must learn to work in the face of constantly changing situations. As one leadership expert described it, today's solution is tomorrow's problem. Solutions to problems are often short-lived because situations change. Leaders prepare themselves for constant change and need to be adaptable. Most leaders are in a mode of constant learning, searching for new and better ways to solve a problem. Because leaders are always on the forefront of change, they're always faced with problems that have never been solved before. Leaders understand that they're facing problems with few simple solutions. The successful leader is always looking for new ways to solve problems. Some ideas for leadership development include: 1. Seek out ways to learn new skills. Learning skills such as communication, networking, writing a vision statement are all useful skills for leaders. 2. Find others to mentor you and others that you can mentor. Other people may have a skill that you admire. Learn from them. Be generous with your knowledge and teach other people what you know. 3. Understand your own faults and your own strengths. Seek out ways to improve your faults. For example, if you do not like public speaking, actively seek out opportunities to practice public speaking. 4. Talk to leaders in your profession, community, and organization. Learn their stories and some of the hardships that they overcame and the opportunities that they took advantage of in their quest to become better leaders.
All right, that wasn't too bad. If you all have questions, make sure to put them in chat or raise your hand. And meanwhile, we ask Charlene, did he talk sense?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the thing about it, the first thing that struck me, what he shared, is what is a leader. And I want to ask anybody, and probably in the chat, if you agreed with him, and I will just backtrack and quote also, well, not quote, but to share, you know, what is a leader? Is it by our title, that somebody is a CEO, that somebody is a manager? Or do you believe no matter where anybody sits, that they can be a leader? So I'm asking you, pre his training, yeah, what did you think before you came in this virtual room? What is a leader? What do you think before you heard his contribution, his training? Let me see if anybody, someone who influences others. Yeah, I'm getting that from Kellyanne. Yeah, because if you remember, if you're at work or if you're in a group, in an association or in church, you have a leader of the group. And we have been socialized to think that a leader holds a position of esteem. However, no matter where you sit once you have the opportunity, and I always like to add the blessing to influence someone positively, you're a leader. And I say blessing because the fact that you can influence somebody to do something good and positive and make a difference in that person's life, as simple as it may seem, you do make a difference when you lead in a positive way, when you lead in a transformational manner and want to develop your people. Yeah, I'm open for questions. Anybody shoot. So while we wait for questions, because I'm not seeing any in the chat yet, one thing I want to stress here that was mentioned was understanding your faults and your strengths. As leaders, and if we're running our business, because this is the Small Business Workshop series, if you're running your business, you are the CEO of your business. So by default, you are a leader. In this case, because you hold a position, yet you want not to rely because you're the owner of the business. You want to rely on how you build a relationship with your team and with your stakeholders, with your customers. Yeah. One important point that he raised is understanding your faults and your strengths. Understanding what we in HR, to use HR speak, we like to swing it around nicely. So whereas they may say faults or may say weaknesses, I rather look at it as areas, opportunities to develop. Yeah. What are those skills that you have or that you feel that you lack or that you want to develop? We must be clear. And that means that requires some introspection and some self-conversations. I'm seeing something pop up here, right? Yes. Somebody's saying, Joelle is saying, hi, Joelle. Someone who can see the vision of possibility. So whereas I speak about casting your vision for the future, yeah, to really assume the role, the full role of a leader, we must always be looking at ourselves to see how we can develop. And to do that, we must know what are the areas we need to develop and what our strengths are. When we know what our strengths are, we can leverage on our strengths. Yeah. Any questions? Is it that I'm not seeing the chat properly? Where are the questions? This room is filled. Oh, yeah.
How do leaders from Betty, how do leaders guide others to be a better version of themselves?
That's an excellent question. And that's your number one job as a leader. Your number one job is not to hit the targets. Your number one job really is to create a space for your people. Yeah. And I'll go on that deeper in the next session. But really to create a space for your people so that you can tap into what will inspire them and motivate them to want to do better. The thing about leadership is that you cannot beat somebody in their head to be better. Yeah? Nobody can force someone to be better and to do better on the job. So you have to find a way, and the only way you're going to be able to do that is by understanding what the person's needs are, understanding the person to their core. And the only way you get there is by developing relationships. You see, sometimes we put entrepreneurship and the work part of our lives in a separate box from our personal lives, not understanding that the same way you develop personal relationships, you must invest the time to develop those relationships on your team. I'm seeing another question here. Hi, Sharita. What tools can be used to determine the strengths and opportunities for growth and development? You can use a personal SWOT analysis. I use that for my programs all the time. The same SWOT analysis you use for the organization, you can do a personal SWOT analysis. Yeah. And that's personal to you. So you, again, you have to have those, I call them self-conversations. You have to have those conversations with yourself. And what are my strengths? And what are the areas that I need to develop? And if you have a trusted friend, a trusted colleague, you could ask them too. Because sometimes we either go too much on the positive side or too much on the negative side. We can't even see our strengths. Yeah. So that is an option. Yeah. Having those conversations allows us to get a reflection, sort of hold up a mirror to ourselves to see who we are in terms of strengths and opportunities. So I'll recommend the SWOT, the typical SWOT that is used for businesses, for strategic planning. I recommend that you turn that into a personal SWOT analysis, and then you can do an action plan for it. Can I combine transformational leadership and servant leadership? Absolutely. They are, the foundation of both transformational and servant leadership is the individual that you're focusing on. Servant leadership tells us, and people don't like that term servant, yeah, but it really tells us that we're here to serve and we help to support the person and help them get better, not make them get better. Help them get better, because the role is to support, yeah? And of course, transformational leadership focuses again on the individual and again to see how you can support them in their journey of growth. And that's where the transformation comes in. How do you transform people you're working with? How do you transform people who are on your team, and not necessarily, when I say team here, including people you may have contracted to support you in your entrepreneurial journey, and not necessarily employees, yeah?
Nice stuff, guys. Nice stuff.
Okay, I'm seeing a comment here. Nicole, thanks for that comment. Yeah. So I have a little thing about motivated, and I agree with you, yes, Nicole, yeah? We cannot focus just on, we know we need to get our customers, otherwise we'll have no business, yeah? At the same time, right now I'm doing a training session with some sales leaders. At the same time, if you focus solely on hitting those targets and don't focus on your team, the pipeline that you have with those targets and the sales that you have, it's going to dry up. You're not going to get the service. They're not going to deliver the service. They're not going to show up for work. They may not be delivering quality work, quality products. So your job as a leader really is to focus on your team and help your team show up in a better version of themselves. Yeah, and that's a personal decision for each person. So it's not so much, I always believe motivation is internal. As leaders, we must provide a motivating environment where the person interact and come to work. And we must also influence and inspire others to show up as a better version of themselves. And let's go. It seems like you have your second video up.
Yeah, this is good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right, so next one is on diversity of creating and managing a team. Let's see.
I'm Sadhana Hall, and this is Creating and Managing a Team. In this lesson, we will learn how to develop a deep pool of potential team members from which to recruit, select team members, and develop a collaborative and productive work environment. The question is, how do you create and manage an effective team? As a leader, you must have team members who are highly motivated and mission-driven. Be clear about your team members' roles and responsibilities. Most importantly, be very deliberate on how you select members and how you integrate them into the team. So there are a number of ways that you can recruit new team members. You can advertise your positions through social media or through local or national newspapers. Ask a person you trust whether they know someone who meets your criteria. You can reach out directly to someone who has impressed you. Explore relationships with educational institutions and offer opportunities for students. You can also contact former colleagues with whom you have worked well in the past. Now the hard part, selecting your team members. Use a detailed interview process that allows you to assess your potential team members' knowledge, attitude, skills, and competencies. Take your time. It's always better to spend time on selecting strong team members than making a hasty selection and then dealing with a poor choice. Involve existing team members as well as partners in the interview process. I've found that different people bring diversity of thought and perspective and also notice different things about the candidates during an interview process. By involving others in the hiring process, you are also taking the first steps in integrating them onto the team. The ultimate question you want to ask yourself is this. I know this person has the required skills and qualifications, but will they work well with the rest of our team, and will they be aligned with our outcomes and goals? Finally, it's important to develop a collaborative and productive work environment for a high-functioning team. Here are some ideas. Establish clear individual and team performance goals, objectives, and work plans. High-functioning teams are a collection of individuals who know why they and the others are on the team. They expect your support, support them. Team members should be clear about your expectations of them, how you'll deal with conflict, and how you will expect the team to make suggestions and receive feedback. Give team members responsibility so they feel a sense of ownership for the vision. Realize that everyone has something to teach and contribute. Encourage professional development and the willingness to learn best practices from others on the team and other parts of the organization. You will find that sharing information encourages empathy and strengthens your team's resilience. Lead by example to create a productive work environment. You really need to model behaviors like being humble, transparent, honest, authentic, and demonstrate your passion and commitment to your organization's mission. All this needs to be consistent. Get to know your team members. By getting to know them, you will better understand what motivates them. You will learn the depth of talent and skills available to you at any given time in case of new or developing projects, and you will develop genuine respect for their contributions to your organization. In turn, they will be loyal to you. Learn how to monitor and evaluate individual achievements and give frequent positive feedback and credit to others. Do not be afraid to give constructive feedback. When you do this, however, make sure you create opportunities for your team members to develop professionally. Help your team members to address personal and professional crises and work with them to ensure team and organizational goals are still being met. Having a strong, diverse team that you can trust and count on is a sure way your organization will be successful.
Let me ask, if I may, yeah? What stood out from you? What stood out for you? What was your takeaway from that training? Come on, what was your takeaway? Yeah, not just job fit, Kellyanne. Kellyanne is speaking about make sure the person you recruit fits the team, and that's an excellent takeaway. So not just job fit, because sometimes we're so focused and this is what I need you to do, and this is who I need. But beyond that, you want to ensure that the person can fit within your team. And that doesn't mean you are hiring replicas of the people on your team already. No, because you may need a certain personality that your team is lacking. So you may want to bring in a certain personality, but it really must fit still so that people can work together effectively. Yeah, the right person with team building skills, the right person to get the right fit, not just for the job, but for the team, including the team. And let me see here. Once you take care of a team, yeah. So I go back to, she did mention about personal and professional. In the end, she mentioned something about that. You know, I have this simple saying that if you invest in your people, and this doesn't always mean the money, it means the time and the effort, the attention. If you invest in your people would be vested in you. If you invest in your people, it may be professional development, it may not be. Your people will be vested in you. Yeah. Make partners, get team involved. So I'm just running through here. Right, that was it. That stood at me. You, Simon, you got it. Help them address the personal and professional crisis. So it goes back. You know, in the past, I used to hear managers would say, employees should leave their home problems at the door. Yeah, have you ever heard that? If yeah, just put up your hand. Leave your problems at the door. Yeah. Don't bring your problems to work, because I'm not a psychologist. Leave your problems at the door. Now, the psychologist tells us, the learned psychologist tells us that people cannot leave their problems at the door. We are not switches. There isn't a switch that we can just flick when we walk through the front door and come all cheery and excited, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. That does not happen in real life. People bring their whole selves, and we want people to bring their whole selves to work, because that's how they will strive and operate at optimum. So we now, as leaders, as CEOs of your company, and don't be afraid to use that term, you are the CEO of your company. As CEOs of your company, you now have to be mindful that somebody, if you operate it even virtually, that somebody may not be having a great day today because their child may be ill, they may be coming down with the flu. Probably they spend the entire night up, you know, watching their child, getting medicine, making sure everything is all right. So in the morning now to have this meeting, they're just not 100%. You got to tune into that as a leader. You got to tune into that. You have to be empathetic. That's a term she used also, empathy. You have to be empathetic. We're not here in the old school way of using the big stick. Autocratic leadership, it's out. It's out. You can't get the best from your people if you're practicing autocratic leadership. Yeah, I'm running through again. Have another member of the team. Thanks, Joanne, for that in the hiring process. I found that was an excellent suggestion, because there are a few things you're doing there, and the main thing is you're telling the other member of your team that you value their input. Yeah, you value their input, so that you're not just here as my assistant helping me get my proposals out or help me get my product out, but I value your input. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Sonia, agreed. Yeah. Okay, so I'm reading Nicole. Said there are a lot of persons who do not know how to work as a team member. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, when you're doing interviews and you ask them if you're a good team member, everybody's going to say yes. Yeah. So you have to ask the questions, probe a little deeper, and ask the questions that will give you the information, the scenario questions, using that STAR approach, the scenario questions, so that you can find out what they actually did. And you could now make the decision, analyze whether the person can work well as a team or not. But asking this question straight out the bat, no one is going to say, no, I don't work well with a team. We always having problem. It's always bacchanal. They don't believe me. Nobody's going to tell you that. So, you know, when we recruit, and we really have to do our research, up your recruitment and your questioning skills, so that you could ask the question to elicit the right answers, so you could make a decision. Yeah, and you know, Sonia, again, sometimes we may not have empathy because of our surroundings, how we were raised, but empathy, it's one of those skills under emotional intelligence. And like any skill, agree with you, Sonia. I talk about the empathy muscle. Yeah. Empathy in the muscle, we can always build our empathy muscle. It is a skill that can be learned. First, we have to understand and appreciate what empathy is. There's this wonderful video by Brent Brown that speaks about, for us to truly exercise empathy, we have to find a place within us that identifies with what the person is feeling. And to do that makes us vulnerable. And that is really empathy. Yeah.
Any like mistakes you have seen small businesses do when they go out to creating a team?
Well, you know, as you're growing and you realize, oh my gosh, you're overburdened and you can't sleep because so much to do. I think the first point, the first pool that business owners look at, small business owners look at, is people they know. Yeah. So you have a friend, you have a family member, maybe your sister, your brother, your cousin, your auntie, your nened, whoever it may be. Yeah. And you may bring that person on as a team. Now, first, my disclaimer, I have my 2 daughters working with me, okay? And other members of the team. So there's nothing wrong with having your family members in the team, but it's work. And therefore, you should treat it like work. So they should meet the requirements and the output that you required for the role, yeah? But having someone on your team just because, and I'll say that is a shortcoming that we have, that, you know, having someone in the team just because they're business family and they're really dead weight in the process is going to hurt your business. And in the end, it's going to hurt your relationship. I've had a client who had to fire his sister. Yeah. So in terms of recruiting, I would say that is one of the areas that you have to be mindful of. Yes, you can recruit family, but they have to do the job. It's not a handout. They have to do the job and they have to be a good fit for the job. And you may have to coach them. You may have to develop them, but just make sure that they understand that it is a job. Yeah. So that's one thing I would say, Shemeon.
Vicky has a good question, which is, do you recommend using a recruitment agency to hire employees?
If you're a small company, I don't. Because a recruitment agency is going to charge you, their fee is going to be the cost, the monthly salary of that individual you hire. Yeah. If you network, if you have a circle, if you're in social media, heck, you could go on LinkedIn now and create a job post for free. Yeah, the exchange you will have, meaning rather than paying an agency, that you'll have to take your time, or probably somebody else on your team, if you do have an admin on your team, to sift through the resumes. But LinkedIn makes it very easy. You could rate them based, you could have questions for them to answer. Think about 2 questions. So you could shortlist based on that. So if you're a small company, in terms of recruiting, I would say recruit for yourself. If you know somebody in HR, you could probably lean on that person for some advice in terms of how to have the interview, or probably if you do have an HR friend, you can ask them to sit in the interview with you for guidance. Yeah, of course, you'll prepare before, but to be there in the interview to assist you and support you and to help you make the decision. But if you're a small company, I would not suggest a recruitment agency, because there's no guarantee that you will get a suitable employee. And when you do, you have to pay them that fee, which is the monthly salary of the employee.
I have an observation, and you can tell me if we were right, thinking this way, right? So we, in our business, we do photography, right? So we had that same question. Do we go to our agency and essentially said Job City, they call us and say, well, give us fees at about 5,000. But in our thinking, we said, well, the type of persons that are photographers don't really reside on LinkedIn. Their
Agreed.
is more Instagram, right? So we had to say, okay, where are we putting out our efforts? And if it is that it's better we go to Instagram than Job City go to Instagram. In the end, we ended up going to UTT and asking them, ask them about their graduates from.
Yes. And that's an excellent approach. So there are associations, there are schools. Some schools have a list, a pool from which they can pull from when you have a vacancy. I know some schools in the East do it. Actually, I think UE has a pool that you could ask, you could advertise in UE. In my days, it was Student Advisory Center. I don't know if they still have that. okay? And they would have vacancies that they can advertise within UE. So there are many resources you can use to tap into the pool of people that you're looking for. But you're right, you need to know where to look. Where would the people that is a photographer, where would a photographer be? Yeah, as you say, in a class, upgrading their photography skills, yeah, or probably in a photography association. I don't know if there's one in TNT, probably a photography association, yeah. But that was an excellent approach. Because sometimes the agency may just be either advertising on their web page or just like you on social media. Yeah. The only thing I would say, caveat to when I say no, is if you feel that the time you have to spend on recruitment does not allow you to focus on bringing in that sale, which will be a lot more than the time that you spend on recruitment. Let's look at opportunity cost here. Yeah. In that instance, it might make sense that you hire agency, and this is going to cost you, I don't know how much it may cost you, depending on who you're hiring. If it's costing you $7,000, you know, if you don't focus on this, you could go out and make 14, for example, $15,000. Economically, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's why sometimes small, and I'm saying small, probably a company of 30 might hire someone to recruit. Some of my clients may ask me to recruit for them, or they may recruit for themselves, depending on the position. Again, they will weigh, yeah, depending on the position and the value of the position equating to the monthly salary. Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. Don't forget, guys, you could put the questions in there.
Yeah. I just said OJT. OJTs are always looking for employment spots, and the government pays his salary. Yeah. Excellent plug. Thanks, Joel. Now, I know back in my days, they paid part of the salary, but I don't know what obtains now. Because when I say back in my days, we're talking about some years back. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that one there. Is it that we could go to OJT?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Offer a position for people to work?
Yeah.
And government to pay the salary for it?
Yes, yes. Now, I keep saying my days, back in the days, okay? That's how it worked, that you will pay part and the government will pay part. I don't know if it's 100% now, but there is an OJT section, department, and the ministry, and they are always looking for organizations to take OJTs, yeah? And they will pay the salary. Sometimes it's either for a year or 2 years. And they have different tiers, whether secondary school tier or university graduate tier. Yeah. Thanks for that plug, Joel. Excellent suggestion.
I learned something today. Hey.
And before you move on, even with that OJT, you could hire an intern. You can hire an intern, but please pay the intern. You know, please, 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 even if they are green, as we say, and they're now learning, they're still contributing and there's still value. Yeah. So you could hire an intern, somebody who may be interested in your field. They could learn as they go along. You know, of course, you may not pay them the salary of an experienced person, but do pay them some salary. And they learn as they go along. And if you think they're a good fit, then you could have them as a full-time or outsource service, either full-time employee, part-time employee, or an outsource arrangement. Yeah, so that's an option. Hiring, we don't think about it often, but there are plenty young people who want to get into a field and nobody will hire them. So while they wondering nobody will hire them, probably you could hire them and have a long-term commitment, a long-term contract as an intern. Yeah.
I've seen another question.
I see a question here. Well, you know, I have no employees, let's put it that way. So my business model is outsourcing. So everybody, including my daughters, send me an invoice. So it works for me. It allows me to be agile and flexible. For small business, I will always go with a contract first. You may have plans to bring the person on permanently. I will go for a contract first if you're not sure that you want this position as part of your establishment. Yeah. If you are sure this is a position, because sometimes you may hire somebody and then things get a little slow and they have to lay the person off. To me, you don't want to be in that situation. So if you're unsure, you don't have all the ducks lined up, or you don't have that crystal ball, you can hire the person on contract. So let's go for a 6-month contract. Yeah, just using that example. So the contract allows you, at the end of the contract, whatever term in terms of timeline you have in your contract, that allows you to say after that has finished, that's it. Now, of course, you do have the option and the privilege to renew that contract, but it allows you to play a short-term game. Yeah, think about it as T20 cricket, right? Instead of Test cricket.
Good questions. Guys, just remember, this is the time to ask us.
Yeah, ask those questions, but that was an excellent question, because we always think that we need to hire an employee.
Mhm.
I know big companies who do not hire employees. They outsource. So my IT guy has his own business. When I have any problems, website, anything, I just message him, whatever time. I mean, he's fantastic. Whatever time in the day or night, he will respond. Yeah. My admin support person, she operates from home. She sends me an invoice at the end of the day. My email person lives in the Philippines. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
You said
Let
your
me see.
email person.
Yeah, the person who does my email, if you're on my list and you might get an email from now and then, she lives in the Philippines. I pay her by PayPal. Yeah. So for me, I have no employees. As I said, that's my business model. If I have a project that requires skills that I do not have, and I want to take on the project, because there are many projects, I'll just say, no, I don't have the skill. I don't want to do that. But if I want to take on the project, I may bring somebody on who may have more experience in that area. I don't believe in winging it, because my clients deserve better. So if it's a project, I decide, all right, I want to get into this organization, and what they request is not far removed from what I would normally request, I will bring somebody on to deliver that program or to deliver that project. Yeah. So I don't operate, my business model is not to hire employees. It allows me to be agile, to expand when I need, and to contract when I need to contract without having any legal obligations to employees. Yeah, legal and moral obligations.
Gemma has a good question. Does the contract between myself and the contract employee need to be passed through a lawyer?
Well, I would recommend, if you have not had a contract that was reviewed before by a lawyer, I would recommend that. Yeah. But you don't have to make it difficult. If you're in an association or you have a friend, you get passed it by the friend. So I used to do contract administration when I was in corporate. I had everybody contracts, yes. So I know what should be in a contract. So for me, it was easy to have a similar contract when I started on my own. Yeah. But you could always, even if it's not a lawyer, somebody may have a contract that was vetted by a lawyer. Don't invent the wheel. I'm sure you know somebody, trust me, or somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. All right. So somebody may have a contract that was vetted by a lawyer. But if you don't, I always will recommend yes.
I can concur with that advice. I have a brother who's a lawyer. I watched one time said, hey,
Yeah, you must know somebody,
and you say,
Hey.
God, pull that thing from Google there.
Yeah, be careful with Google, because Google might have contracts for at-will positions in the US, and at-will positions means you can terminate them at will. You get up in the morning and say, gosh, I fed up of this stupidness, and you can terminate the person. In the US, you could do that if the position is deemed an at-will position. So if you go Google and you get an at-will contract and you download it and you change the name and whatnot and you sign off and you feel you can terminate the person easily and you use that clause and you do terminate the person and the person really get vexed and you go to the Ministry of Labor, you probably will be seeing them either in court or in the reconciliation office. Yeah, so be careful with downloading.
And good
Yeah.
suggestion from Sonia, do not
Yes.
die without proofreading.
Agreed, because there's there and there. Agreed.
All right, very good, guys. All right, so next, oh, you have a question from Renee. If an employee does not want the employee to pay NIS for them, how do you go about that?
No, it's not optional. If you have an employee, you must pay statutory requirements. So you don't get to have that conversation, negotiate. It's not negotiable. You're either employee or you're not an employee. So remember, you are the CEO. Remember, you are the leader. And therefore, you don't want to encourage conversation or make it seem that it's okay to have those conversations that are unethical and illegal. You want to ensure that you operate in such a way that they wouldn't dare ask you that, because you want to uphold a level of ethics and ensure that you operate in a legal way. Yeah, because it might come and bite you sometime later down the road. Everybody's not your friend. Don't think that that very same employee who's asking you not to pay NIS for them, don't feel that there may not be a possibility that down the road they may say you did not pay NIS for them. Yeah, don't go that. I would never advise going that way. Some people like to cut short corners, but you're in business and you're operating your business in a way that will make it, you can defensible. You can defend what you're doing as a business. You want to ensure, as we're in this, that you pay your taxes. I know it's difficult to have all of those things organized as a business owner, especially when you're now starting up, but you want to ensure that you have your bank account for your business as a separate bank account. You want to ensure that you have, you know, your invoices are filed. Right now I have a set of invoices. Today I just spoke to my employee, my daughter, that's just finished download some invoices today, right? Because we need to prepare to get our accounts done. And like I said, it doesn't have to be grand, but you want to ensure you toe the line in terms of your business, even if, I don't want to say even, particularly as you're a small business, because you want to develop that as a habit, as a way of operating. Yeah. So right now I'm trying to sort out for the longest while my filing of invoices and whatnot, sending invoices to the accountant, doing that monthly instead of waiting for when you have to do your finances, your annual finances. So I feel as business owners, we must ensure that we operate according to the law, because even down the road, if you want to access government organizations where government has majority shareholding, or sometimes even international companies that may have a stringent service provider approval process. Yeah. Some of them ask for your accounts. I've had businesses ask last 3 years of your financials. Yeah. If you want to access some government companies or agencies, you have to go and get a clearance from NIS and PAYE and VAT to ensure that you have paid these things. Because if they are outstanding, then you cannot be considered. So, don't operate for today. Operate for where you want to be. No matter the size of your business, set up your business with an eye that it's a big business. Don't operate as, it's just me, or it's just two of us. Don't use that mindset. You are CEO of your business and you're going to operate it as a big business. So you have accounts to see about, marketing to see about, staff meetings. I have meetings with my team on Mondays, 11:30. Operate like a big business. Even if it's one, when you speak to your customers and your clients, always remember to say we. All right. All right. Even if you're a business of one, when I started, I always said we. And as a matter of fact, my first customer only found out earlier this year that when I went to her, that she was my first customer. And that was 11 years ago. And we had a bit joke about it. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And a touch base, so that's a really, really, really important topic you brought up. So when we had the financial literacy workshop and we brought in Dr. John to speak about financial literacy, we recognize that the biggest problem with entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, is that we are not tracking our expenses. I personally have a failure story from our past business, right? And it took me COVID to sit down for over a month with just piles and piles of invoices and tracking expenses to bring me up to speed before the amnesty ended. But because I was not up to speed with the accounts, you missing out on tenders, you missing out on competing with all these companies that have team full of administrators. In the current business, one of the first people hired, right, was an administrator just to handle all the expenses, because that is my weakness. I busy out there working, doing everything, visionarying.
Yeah.
That paperwork killed my last business. I didn't want it to kill my next business. So I said admin, and I never regret it, right? And now that you have the OPR, right, Office of I've been in a event, and the ministry is eating these food plates, and they love it. Girls from the ministry love it and say, hey, this is excellent. Could you come and do this for us? Wait, are you on the OPR? And the person was like, no. And the conversation ended right there. To be on the OPR, you have VAT, tax, NS clearance. To have all those things, your accounts need to be up to date. To have your accounts up to date, somebody had to be checking invoices. It is a high administrative task, right? And if it is, and in Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately, if you're engaging in the institutions such as NSBR and all these organizations, you're spending a lot of time there, right? Because you spend a lot of time there and you're a solopreneur, I'm of the opinion that it is impossible as a solopreneur or a young entrepreneur to really balance that burden. Perhaps as a group, share the administrative role or hire someone and
that's an excellent idea.
We could do that as a hub. 5 of us, 5 companies, hire 1 person, right? So that, I mean, if 10 of us hire 1 person, instead of paying the person 5,000, 6,000 each, like $600 each, right? And we can make that task. And why it's so important too, because after we learned about tracking expenses at SU, we had a meeting with Expert TT, Netco, some of the banks, and they knew this was the issue. They said, boy, small business, they kind of separate themselves from the business. And because they can't separate themselves from the business, in short, they cannot trust you with their money. Apart from they giving away money sometimes in some instances, or they putting aside money specifically for those risky stuff, right? The sitting down with the bank is going to see that you don't have the statement of accounts. And they could easily tell when somebody bluffing with a statement of accounts. And entrepreneurs like ourselves always come with these statement of accounts that are not that they can see through, right? So all that to say, hiring and creating a team that tracking of expenses, ensuring that the taxes is super important. It's like you must do it soon.
Yeah, the first person you really should hire is that admin person. The first person in your team is that admin person to keep track. I see Sonia saying, yes, admin is life. Yeah. like you, the paper is my downfall. But we go back to a leader understanding what their areas to development are. Yeah. The areas that they're not perfect in, the areas that they know is their downfall. You got to know that, and you have to fess up. I talk about fessing up, meaning confess. You have to know what are the areas that you know because you don't like to do it, you don't do it. And you get somebody to do it. And it may not be that you hire somebody, you have somebody on your staff for the year, you just hiring somebody to do the task. Yeah. Which may not cost you as much as if you had somebody on your team. So my accountant is outsourced. She probably want to know what the heck happened to me because so long she waited for the invoices. But she's outsourced and I just pay her to specifically do my financials, annual financials. That's all I pay her for. You know, she will also pay any of the statutory requirements. So she will organize all the green funds and whatever it is. And her approach is just pay it. If they have a refund for you, they will give you a refund. But you just pay it. So when you need your clearance, you can receive your clearance. So that's the approach we use. Yeah. So on my end, I just have to make sure that we download all the invoices when we get them, we file it, and we send it over to her. And she does everything else. Yeah. Yeah, that paper, I have been in charge of administration all my professional life, and I don't like it. That don't mean that I didn't do it well then. But when you're on your own, it's a whole different story. You don't have a team when you now start an admin who's filing everything. It's you, right? So as I say that, what I realize is a good way to start on filing is just, sometimes they have those accordion files that have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can use that to file your documents, or you can simply get different trays or different folders so you could file them right away so they don't need to file. So one thing I've learned is that when somebody sends me an invoice via email and they have to be paid, I print it one time. Yeah, I print it one time, I make a note on it, the date it is paid, and then I put it in the tray. So that's my little, I don't pay it, I have that process. You're not getting paid if I don't print it. Yeah, because I know now at the end of the year or the 6 months, I have to go back and look through emails for that. Yeah. So those ad hoc. Yeah, those ad hoc. Yeah. So my process is print then pay. You don't get paid if it isn't printed. Yeah.
There was also a suggestion from an entrepreneur in one of the workshops. Well, two things that we observed. One entrepreneur said that the paperwork does lose ink, does fade, right? So that's
yes, that's true.
And then another entrepreneur also gave a good suggestion, was creating an email, accounting email for your business. So let's say Louvo accounting, and every piece of paper they would snapshot and they would send an email. And then in the email, they could sort by folders, like suppliers.
That's an excellent idea too, because yes, those bills, they do fade. If you buy anything for Price Smart for your business, a laptop, a drive, a chair, it's not even going to last 3 months. So you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And that's
that's an excellent suggestion. Yeah. So let's see what here. So I'm seeing here the procurement process that require less documentation for the lower level tenders. Yeah, the tiers of tenders. Yeah, and Sonia is also suggesting a SWOT analysis, including the personnel. All right, let me go down here. Oh yes, Nicole, paper piles up quickly. And sometimes you need to spring clean, eh? So I have been spring cleaning, at least attempting to. And I have a box about this size, covered. And I realized those are things from, I don't know, about 8 years ago. When I was in corporate, they say you hold your files for 6 years, I think, or 7 years, can't recall. Either 6 or 7 years. I think time has passed, so it's time to shred. Okay, we'd love to do a bonfire, but I don't think we're allowed anymore. But it's time to shred. Okay, so, every now and again, you need to clean up. What are the things you need to get rid of? What are the things you could box and put away somewhere? If you're operating from home, clear out below the bed. on top of the closet, you know, if you don't have room in your laundry room, if you don't have a storeroom. But you need to find time to sort through. And sometimes, the time you're sitting down and watching TV, go through some files, you know? Put it in front of the TV and go through some files. When I have tedious work to do, I put on something just in the background so I don't feel like if I'm working too much. It's a mental thing, okay? I will want to move in the background so I don't feel like if I'm working too much.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Let's go to the third
Yeah.
session.
Great, Nicole, great advice. Yes, so let's get rolling.
This session is about management. Learning objectives include 1. Distinguish between leadership and management. 2. Understand the importance of management in problem solving. 3. Identify the 4 skills of planning, putting the plan into action, influencing, and deciding required for effective management. It's common for people to confuse the words leadership and management. Leadership is about change, creating a vision for the future, and bringing people together to create the change. Management, on the other hand, is about the process that the leader uses to create the change and solve the problem. Leaders motivate and inspire, where managers focus on getting the job done. Effective problem solving requires both leadership and management. But I want to concentrate on the importance of management because I've seen too many leaders in too many situations fail to achieve the change they desire because they have failed to properly manage their project. Leadership requires a vision for the future, but the vision will never be realized if the leader cannot successfully see the vision implemented to the end. Effective management requires many different skills, including planning, organizing, influencing, and deciding, with the objective of achieving an organization's goals. These skills can be learned and practiced by people not yet in formal management positions. The first skill, planning, involves taking a step-by-step approach and requires making a fair estimate of what is required to accomplish a goal. Even though plans will likely change throughout the process, putting a plan together helps the manager identify possible challenges and provides a way to explain to others the nature of the project or change that they hope to bring about. For network members, you can practice this skill by designing a plan to achieve something that is important to you. This plan could involve creating daily goals, to-do lists of activities, and weekly assessments of what went well and what did not go well. Next, putting your plans into action involves bringing together the right people and resources to accomplish goals. This might also include designing jobs and roles appropriately and implementing change in order to accomplish these goals. Network members can practice change management in small ways. For example, a member can decide on a small change and seek out those people to help accomplish this change. The third skill, influencing, requires the manager to get individuals to participate in the project. It also more broadly means getting people to work together in the interests of the organization. This skill is also related to teamwork. Network members can practice their teamwork skills by building a shared purpose among people from different backgrounds with different ideas. Finally, deciding involves assessing resources and determining which courses of action to take. In any project, a manager faces multiple choices. Who should be involved in the project? What resources are needed? And how will the different aspects of a project be paid for? Network members can practice this skill by purposefully selecting a course of action after considering a variety of alternatives. This means that rather than making a decision quickly, a member can practice assigning different alternatives and methodically weighing the alternatives before selecting an action. Some steps include recognizing a situation that requires a decision, then identifying alternatives, evaluating those alternatives, selecting the best alternative, implementing that alternative, and finally following up to evaluate whether the decision was effective. Of the 4 management processes, planning, putting your plan into action, influencing, and deciding, which are your strongest management skills?
So we have a question. So which of the four would you say is your strongest skill? We have planning, implementing, putting into action, influencing, and deciding. Which would you say is the strongest for you? Which one will it be? Put into action. Okay, Rhea. Yeah, anybody else? Have that conversation with yourself. Which is your strong point? Which of those four would you say is your, should we say, superpower? Planning. Can't operate without a plan. Action, reflective listening. Got you, Betty. Come on, people, which would you say? Because we have to ask ourselves that question and go back to understanding what is our strengths and what is our weaknesses. Yeah, our areas to develop. When we know what are our strengths, you know which one is our strength, then we can leverage that. Yeah, we can leverage that. Planning. All right, I'm seeing some more planning. Thanks, Joanne. Planning, Akita, Natasha. Planning and action. Okay, great. Yeah. So for some of us, we have clearly identified the strength in these four skills. I want you to think of a time when you had effectively managed a situation. Yeah. Which management skill shone for you, you know, outweighed, eclipsed the other skills? Which skill did you tap into to make the situation happen, to make the project happen, to make the product out the quality level that you want? Yeah. Which of those four skills, the planning, the implementing, the influencing, or the deciding? I see we have problem solving, yes. Planning, action. Yeah. Anybody else? We have the influencing, which is so critical. We go back to making it happen. The influencing is the people aspect. You have no business without your people, without your stakeholders, your team, whether it's outsourced or employees. Their action. Yeah. If you have to address, I think I missed one here. Let me see. Okay, Nicole said planning, working with a team with different knowledge to put the plan in place. Yeah. And I'm assuming, Nicole, you mean that each person brought a different field, a different set of knowledge to the table to work together as a team, different expertise to work together as a team, because sometimes that's what we need. You know, think about if you are planning right, made sense for the project. Yeah, think about if you're planning an event, for example, a big event, you need to have different people to make it happen. And if you have catering for the event, you definitely need to have different skills, yeah? Different skills. So what would you say? So let's look at the flip side now. What are the areas that you need to develop in terms of management skill? And how would you develop those skills? So let's say, for example, probably for me, if I had to look at, I would probably say planning of all. Should be planning or deciding? Probably deciding. I would say deciding. Yeah, if I had to look at the four skills, the planning, implementation, taking action, influencing, and deciding. So if I had to look at that, I'd say, okay, so I want to develop my deciding skills, how I make decisions in terms of the resources, so that we can make decisions in a more structured manner. Yeah. All right. So Betty's saying deciding and relationship building. So tell me, what skill would you want to develop, and how do you think you may develop that skill? Yeah, so if we're saying planning, we want to do better in planning, or we want to do better in deciding, bringing the resources together and making the decision as to which resources to use, including people, including the human resource. how would you develop that skill? Or how would you address your weakness? Let me use that question instead, because there are different options. Yeah. So look at the area that you want to develop and how would you address that gap? Tell me, how would you address that gap? So you see why we need to look at ourselves, and I will source training sessions. Yeah, like outsource. Yeah, that's one of the answers I was looking for. That's why I changed my question. Yeah. Yeah. How would you address your gap? You realize of these 4 management skills, the planning, taking action, influencing, making the decision on your resources, you realize that, you know, you're not superman or woman in all these 4 management skills. How would you address that gap? How would you address that shortcoming? Yeah, that area to develop. I will attend training courses. Excellent. Anybody else? Come on, we're here to learn and share. Come on, come on. I'm seeing 46 persons in the room, and if I take away 3, that's 46. Listen, 64. All right. No, I'm not dyslexic. All right. So I'm seeing 64 persons in the room, and if I take away three of us, that gives us 61. So keep it coming. What would you do? This is a time for you need to think about it. Don't let this opportunity go. I see get a mentor. Fantastic, Sharida. Okay, John is doing project management. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Great going, Nicole. Come on, how would you? Because we got to be honest with the things that we either don't like to do or we don't do so well, because the business can't pull up. You can't keep back your vision. You can't keep back your dream because you can't do well in all these 4 skills. What are you going to do about it? Let me hear you. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Put that thinking cap on. Here's your opportunity. I've seen outsource, I've seen attend classes, I've seen, okay, starting HRM this semester. Well done, congratulations, Kellyanne. Yeah. Reading resources. Yes, on the internet, agreed, Nicole. Outsource Marina, because whereas, you know, you need to know what's good for you. Yeah. What works for you? Courses and coaches. Thank you, Simone. So we're all sharing here different ways that that you will be closing that gap. Yet you have to know what works for you, what works for your business, what works for your personal context at home. Yeah. Would a course work for you? Or, as my dear friend said, where is it? Reading a lot of resources on the internet helps me a lot. Look at girlfriend right here, Nicole, because I'm forever reading an article, research by McKenzie, research, I forget it, by Gallup. I'm forever on the internet reading and in a way upgrading my skills. So there are many different ways you can upgrade your skills. I saw get a mentor. You may know somebody who have the skills that you want to excel or get better at. Don't be afraid. Make sure it's a good match for you, but don't be, you know, afraid to ask the person if they can be your mentor. Or you can be a mentee from afar. Yeah. You can follow the person. You know, we have plenty of people who think Bill Gates and, you know, all those people, Buffett and all those people are their mentors because they read about them, they follow them, they listen to their advice. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Nicole. Absolutely. Prepare stage and deliver winning presentation. Yes, because you can learn so much from reading. And of course, you practice, put it into action, because there is really the best way to learn is to do. So after we have been mentored, whether over a cup of coffee or from afar through the internet, after we have signed up for our classes, after we have hired a coach, after we've read a good book, That's the first part. The second part is really put it into action, what you have read, what you have learned in that class through the mentorship session, from the coach, from yourself as you were coached. It's really put it into action. Too many times I've seen we collect information and we collect knowledge, but growth only happens when we take the knowledge and we implement. Yeah. So Joanne, we're looking forward to your presentation. Yeah. So anybody has any questions for me? I've been asking a lot of questions, I realize. Anybody has any questions for me about any of the videos that we saw, any of the topics? Yes. All right, Joanne. Joanne said she's doing the next presentation. But in the other spot, Joanne. Just kidding. Do you have any questions for me?
Joanne, do you have a question?
I think Joanne was responding to when I asked her if she'll be doing a presentation after she has read her book. At least I assume. Any questions from anything?
I have questions for you guys now because the next part is a quiz. Okay. Marina, I have a question.
How did you scale your business as an individual? Well, actually, that's a question that I'm asking myself now. Yeah. So I scale by outsourcing. Yeah. But it's not where I want to be. So here's the plan. Okay. Now y'all are getting the secret here first. Okay. So my main delivery is training. I do projects also. I do recruitment for clients. So to scale for me, besides replicating myself, it's really to add a different mode of delivery. Because sometimes it's a plus and a minus. If you build your business or build your brand and who you are, guess what? People only want you. Plus and minus. How do you scale you? You can't replicate you. How do you find another you? That has been my question. You know, you chat with people to bring on as a trainer, and they don't deliver the way you deliver. Yeah, in terms of engagement, no matter how much questions and guidelines you have, okay? You just gotta have it. So for me, in terms of scaling, I've realized, okay, I could do online. See what we're doing here? I could do exactly what I did during COVID time to scale. Yeah, because right now I went back face-to-face wholesale, 100%. But I'm backtracking now to offer training online. So it can be recorded as we saw that video, and you have your things to do, your exercises to do, and your quiz. So that's how I'm going to scale my business. What I was thinking in my head was the scale meant that I had to connect with my client and deliver as I'm delivering and as I'm connecting with my client now. And I realized that doesn't have to be. So for me to scale, because hey, at some point in time, we want to semi-retire, right? So even as you have your business, you have to think down the road, what's going to happen to your business? Yeah, even if you just started. So for me to scale is to use the technology to have virtual sessions, to have on-demand sessions, to have ebooks and worksheets that people can do. So I could multiply myself, not physically, but what I offer. Yeah, and then I could bring some colleagues on to also do training online. So that's how I'm going to scale this business that has been built on a personal brand. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's see. Let's see if some more questions here. Right. Yes, you have taken all the lessons. All right. After this, you get a certificate. And just remember, all of these questions are a reflection of you guys, not me. So let's go. To be a leader, you must be a CEO, be the president of a nation, be a champion of change, seek to make the world better. Which one? All right, you see, I have Kellyanne saying being a champion of change. Anybody else? C, D, anything? C, anybody? I'm waiting for your inputs. You can write A, B, C, or D. C, all right, C, D, okay. C, D. All right.
They always put in an answer there to make you second guess yourself, don't they?
Ooh. Ooh.
I
Ooh.
say we get it a D, C.
Okay. Looks like the C's have it. All right. And maybe it's D, but we'll see. Okay. Leaders always find themselves in complex situations, must learn to work in situations of constant change, always face problems that have never been solved before, all of the above, or none of the above. Dun, 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 dun. I see in B, I see in D, I see in C. Ooh.
Interesting.
B, D, B, all of the above. Ooh, close. All right. See, I counted up. It look like it's between B and D. Yeah? Let's see. If you get it wrong, you just always come back and believe you guys, okay? All right, so all of the above, nice. All right, oh, B, Julian, adamant it's B. We'll see. 3, you can improve your leadership skills by finding others to mentor you, finding someone to mentor, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, all of the above. Okay, this one is an easier one apparently. More consistent answers. E. All right. Okay, you're coming in strong. No, all right, okay, E. Okay. Several recommendations for recruiting potential team members were included in the video. Which of these items was not one of them? Advertising via newspapers, radio, social media. Asking a person you trust to know someone who meets your criteria. Don't require applicants to submit resumes. Explore relation to education institutions and contact former colleagues. I see a C from Arlene, C from Maria, C from Crystal, C from Vicky, Alana, Tasha, Lovin, Suzette, all saying C. Yeah, Davika, Tracy, Crystal, Juliet, Renette, Alicia, Joanne, Camila. C, all right, okay, C, all right. When selecting your team members, you should use a detailed interview process that allows you to assess your potential team members' knowledge, attitude, skills, competencies, or all of the above.
This one should be more than easy.
Yeah, coming in strong, E, all right. Tracy, I seen an F, but I don't want to mean. Okay, nice. Yep. You have a unanimous E there, except Tracy, but okay, you go in. When selecting individuals to join your organization or project, it does not matter if they get along with the other team members, as long as they have the required skills and qualifications. True or false? Woo! I like Ali. False with the exclamation mark. Yep, yep. False, false. Yeah. Coming in strong with this one, guys. Okay. When developing a collaborative and productive work environment for a high-functioning team, a leader must establish clear individual and team performance goals, be clear about expectations for conflict resolution and feedback, give team members responsibility, encourage professional development, for all of the above. Are you saying all of the above? Saying all of the above? Everybody, E, 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 E. Okay. Looks like you have a strong consensus here. All right. Leadership is about change, a vision for the future, bringing people together to create change, all of the above, or none of the above. D, 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 D. All right. D. Okay. If you all say so. Which of these is not a skill of management? Planning, influence, inspiring, and deciding.
That one should be very easy.
Ria says C. Simon says C. Tian says D. D. Juliet says C. C. Okay, the C is starting to come out strong now. All right, all right. Okay, C. Let's see. You're going to see. Leadership and management are the same thing. True or false? Big false. False. Okay, wow. Actually, there's a cool story about to help you distinguish between leadership and management. This is from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Persons. He says the manager is the person who has a team cutting down a forest and they're sharpening the axes and they're hacking and he's saying, hack faster, sharpen those axes. All that is management. The leader is the person who gets a ladder, climbs above the canopy, looks out and says, wrong forest.
Love it. Love it. That's fun to remember. Yeah.
I never forgot.
Excellent. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's one thing, as you say, leader and management, there's one simple way I have for remembering is that we manage processes, we lead people, because nobody wants to be managed. You think you're managing your team, nobody wants to be managed. We manage processes, we manage the what, we lead people, we lead the who.
Let's see if we got all right, guys. Loading. Ooh, we got one wrong. Let's see. Ooh. All right.
Well, I see an X there.
What is it? Somebody say D.
Yeah, and if I recall, somebody did say D when most people say C. So we'll see when you change it to D what happens.
Let's see. Yay!
Yay to who chose thee the first time. Yeah. Where's my little thingy? Yay to you.
Oh, good stuff, guys. Congratulations. So this is how the courses, you do have access to all of these courses, right? They're really good stuff, really good stuff. I was really happy when someone mentioned servant leadership. During COVID, I went through this and I was like, wow, taught me quite a thing. Someone did ask about grants. There's also fun about grant writing in here. Fundamentals of grant writing, right? This combined with this is EL page here. And just last month, we put up this page, resources, because we keep getting the grant stuff. We know it's something a person's being interested in. So in grant funding opportunities, we have a list of like places where you could get grants, so you can check out. Right? But I mean, it's don't do this, don't pursue grants until you're aware of this, right? Inside here, it will tell you about how much you need to be aware of what the grant provider is interested in, right? And hence is when you know what the grant provider is interested in, then you can really cater a proposal well for them. Right, so, and of course, sign up here and put your name so you get counted among us. So when we go to people for resources or help and support, we can say, hey, 1,000 of us want this support. And they are quite helpful when we tell them that there's more than a good bit of us. All right, so that's enough all of that I have to share, but we still have Charlie for a little bit. So any hard questions for Charlie? You can ask.
Now that you have the screen, as Plummer would say, look at people.
Anybody have any horror stories from like hiring and creating a team?
Oh, there's always the challenge, yes.
At a
As you
time,
said, any horror stories or any mistakes that you felt that you made that we can learn from?
you raise your hand, I want to hear them. I'll tell you mine. A time I hired admin and she was like 65, you know, so 60, pull them out. And the idea was to have a old, like a retiree, pull them my heartstrings or this good person. But the problem is she wasn't computer savvy, right? So I know, and I kept it for like a month or two. But then it was COVID. My bank account just went to like zero. And then I was like, a baby diapers to buy. And I can do it certified person, so it's always be difficult to find someone. So that's one bad story I have.
Yeah,
Well,
I think I had that experience some time back. Hired someone I knew, but the same admin, but she was an executive assistant, so you would assume, right? Never assume. So again, retirement age thereabout, and someone I knew, very nice, retired as an executive assistant. So I assume that she would have had a handle on only technology back end. But when she started, she couldn't keep up. I didn't have to fire. She stepped down. She recognized that she could not keep up with all the programs we want to use, the back-end programs, Trello to do your manage your projects and keep up to date. And she stepped down, recognized that was a shortcoming and she stepped down. Yeah. So, yeah. But agreed, Juliet.
Juliet says my fault. You're sure right?
Of course.
It's my fault.
Agreed. Mine too. So, you know, and I think both our stories really tell us that growth is a process. So even as you think you're developing as a leader, as a business owner, you will find 10 years from now, you may make an error that you feel you should not have at that point in time, at that stage of your growth. I always say, give yourself some grace. There's no knocking of knuckles allowed. Give yourself some grace. Yeah.
Renat has his hand up.
So I have two stories this afternoon. One is I remember I had somebody who worked with me, and well, I'm a hairstylist, and the clients would never want the person to touch their head. So it was like, why do I have someone to work with me and I have to do all the work and still pay someone? So what I did, I had her, I had the clients gain trust in her. And after that, I could have left her there and people would come and ask her to do their hair. But what happened after, she would dig into the client's business and customers didn't like her asking them their business. So I really had to let her go. It was hard parenting, but I had to. And my second thing is, I saw a guy who I did the course with, Shemeon in Saparia. His name is Manuel Boss. And I saw him delivering manual to a very established business, which is Moda Live. And I felt so happy to see a young man, trying something, and he is working his way up. And I call out to him. His name is Brent. Brent, I think. And he was like, "You remember me?" I said, "Yes, he was outstanding, And he was so happy. I even bought manual from him because I was so happy to see him doing something positive. And I mean, the manual still sitting there, and that was like 3 weeks ago. And he gave me a free bag. And I I was like, I was so happy. And then he said, you know what I did? When I was there, I took the bank information and I went to the bank and I got a big, huge loan. And I started to jump because it's like, you come into this little business meetings and in your head you want to know where would it take you. But it's something that really working, and continue the good job. And thanks for having us as small business owners trying and really gaining knowledge. And probably some of us who is really into it may climb higher as small entrepreneurs. So thank you very much. And yeah, that's my contribution.
Thanks so much.
Maria.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone.
Hi, Ria.
Well, I am a therapist I'm a therapist. I do physical therapy, physiotherapy, and massage therapy. And I remember when I was just starting to build my business, there was this spa that used to contract me to come in to do massages on her clients. So she contracted me, it's like she outsourced me then, and I used to go in and just on the appointments to do the massages. And eventually, as my business started to build, which in turn I started to get more clients, I had to lessen my visits by her. And eventually she called me and I wouldn't say she was disappointed. I had to say she was very disrespectful in the way that she approached me, telling me that I am to blame for her drop in clientele because I stopped coming by her. But I had to tell her that I was not an employee. It's not like I was there by you 9 to 5. and you were paying me a salary to do this. You contracted me and I just came in on appointment. So, and she blamed me for the drop in her clientele, which I find was really disrespectful because I mean, I didn't take her on. It didn't negate me or it didn't make me feel anyhow, but I just found that she was out of place to make it look like it was my fault that her clientele had dropped. And the other thing, the other horror story that I had is something similar to what Mr. Williams and Ms. Pedro you had, whereby I had hired an admin to be here at my business. And in hiring her, but it was kind of like a family kind of thing, you could say as well. And sometimes I say I had to be careful with family and your business. And she basically did nothing. She will come and sit at the office. She was always making mistakes and booking clients. All she would do is just sit down and, well, I also have healthy snacks, something on sale here at the business. She will just sell something and sit back down and always, her head always down in her phone. And after about 2 months, I had to let her go and tell her, well, I'm sorry, but you're not pulling your weight here. So it's difficult to find good help as well. But I guess it's all about, and from what I learned, it's all about how you go about sourcing people to put in your business. So thank you very much for the session. It was very informative, and I can't wait for the other one.
Thanks for sharing, Ria. Let me just say here, if we operate our business as a business, not saying that you did not, you let them know what the expectation is. So you have a job description, and I know sometimes if it's a small business, should I say, I hate that word small business. If it's a business, yeah, if it's a business that you, probably just you or 2 persons, you may not feel the need to have your job descriptions and your contract. Yet if you operate as a business, as I said before, and you let them know what is expected here. I remember when I was in corporate, we had an intern, and when she was finished with the work assigned to her, she will open up a newspaper on her desk and start to read. And I said, you know, look around you. Do you see anybody reading at 9:30 in the morning? Or everybody's, you know, getting work done? I said, so what you see being done here is exactly as you should do. So we do not read newspapers during working hours. We read it before 8, we read it during lunch, but not during working hours. And if you are finished with your task, I expect that you will come to me and ask what else is there I'd like to assist you with. Yeah. So it's about setting the pace, the tone of your expectation up front. And even if you see something that is not in keeping, not in line with your expectation and what you shared, or even if you didn't share it, and it's not in keeping with what you expect, you know, it's important that we address it immediately. And sometimes it may feel uncomfortable, but we have to learn to address those things immediately. Because from the time you allow people to come late, to be on their phone, to probably take the snacks without permission, when you allow that, you are given permission. Yeah. And it's happening in all organization sizes. Don't feel it's just you know, organization our size, you know. Even managers in big organizations, they'll complain long after about the employee always coming late. And whose responsibility is it to advise the employee when they come late that that is not acceptable? So we have to advise and create the expectation. And I talk about nipping it in the bud, you know. As leaders and as managers, we wear both hats. We lead in people, we manage in processes, and in the end, we have to deliver to our clients, to our customers, and at a high quality. Don't let people come in your organization, in your business that you have built from the ground up and pull down your business. Yeah. So you nip things in the bud, and this doesn't mean that you're using a big stick and you're quarreling and you're cussing people out. This is not what I'm talking about. Yeah. You have to learn to have those direct conversations in a very tactful and I might say loving way. But in the end, when you have shared all of this, the onus now is on the individual. I know sometimes people are afraid to terminate, afraid to fire, because I've heard so many times that we don't want to take bread out of people's mouth. Let me tell you here that people take bread out of their own mouth. Once you have given them, once you have advised them, once you have given them the opportunity to improve, which you must give everybody, let them know clearly what is expected, give them the opportunity to improve. And if after that, over numerous times, it's just not working, make sure you document. So when you could part ways, you have things on file. Yeah.
Good stuff. G. Suzette.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I was trying to not say much because of my voice. I did so much
Yes, here you
speaking
are.
because of my voice, but I got this, I got a notification this morning from a good friend within the ministry, and I felt that I should just join the session. You see, we even though we are leaders, CEOs, sometimes we feel things are beneath us that we shouldn't be part of because we see small business workshop, and Ms. Pedro couldn't say it better. I don't like the word small business because small business, big business is almost the same processes. Yes, especially if you want to scale up your organization to whether it be incorporated from sole trader to incorporated. One of the things I want to share today is that I've been in business personally for 17 years. Yeah, next year going to be 18. It's a consultancy, of course, and it's not. I'm not here to advertise, but I'm here to encourage. Yes, because we have been adding value to each other as we go along the short space of time that I would have joined. And I want to say to all of us, even to the sole traders, once you start your business as a sole trader, maintain that structure, that think big. Yes, maintain that big structure that, you know what, I am going to structure my business as though I have a board. I'm going to structure my business with proper accounting processes. I'm going to structure my business. And once you have that mindset, it eventually will see that if you have to incorporate into limited, the process is so simple. Because all the way along, you were keeping your books in order, you were, whether you were outsourcing or you were bringing on team members from a project to project or from a contract basis, the process that you have and the system that you have in place, transformation becomes very easy. And I could say within the pandemic with a consulting business, and I say this, that before the mindset was, oh, you need to have a front office and you need to have a front office and you need to rent a front office. And, you know, I was one who always said, our boutique consultancy will be unique. We're not going to rent a front office. And I could tell everybody that the vision came and I started in the corner of my parents' home. Yes, with a desk and a copier, and you know, I just had a small desk that I move it with me. Now that we have transformed and we don't pay a rent, but I utilize the space that my father left, and we're quite comfortable with that. And it's not a front office, as a matter of fact, it's way in country. Yes, and what I want to say when I say that is that don't be afraid to start at the starting point. Yeah, too many times we feel that we need to have a lot of money in the bank. We need to have, all we need to have is the faith and the vision to move forward. Yes, and your skill set. And you start by where you're supposed to start, because once your purpose is to have a business, once your purpose is to plan, whether you're a hairdresser, whether you're a landscaper, whatever it is, once you have that skill set and you put your mind to it, because if you were doing good in a company, you're going to do better in yours. Yes? And that's what I want to share. My former boss will say, you know, Suzette, you were the one who built my business and you did this and you did that. And when the time reached for me to move on, she blessed me immensely and said, you have done all of this for me. You can do it for yourself. And today we partner together. Sometimes I may have a project that I need an additional executive with us. And I go back to her. And I'm just sharing, all of this to say that we must never feel that we're too big to sit within forums like these to learn and to share. Learning is an ongoing process. And I'm happy that I was able to get the flyer to be part of all of this, because here's what I learned something today that I didn't learn before. Maybe I shouldn't say I didn't learn before, but it wasn't in the forefront of my head. So there's always a humbling process to be part of growth and development. Yes. And I just want to share that today. So thank you, Ms. Pedro. Thank you to the embassy. And I trust that I will always be part of, and you beautiful 66 people, now we have 53, continue to shine, continue to offer the excellent service that you want for yourself. What you want for yourself, you give out. And as Ms. Pedro said, you know, you're not taking bread out of anybody's mouth, you know, they take bread out of their own mouth. And I was one of those who felt, you know, oh gosh, you don't want to tell them, but no, you cannot afford anybody to destroy something that you built for years and is doing so well. Yes. And one thing, last thing, business is a roller coaster. So you're gonna have, your account will be $1 million today, you're gonna reach zero next week. It's gonna go back again. But every time it goes low, you know, do a SWOT as to where you went wrong, you know, or did I spend too much, or did I feel that I reached that I think I could have just splurged on myself, or just spend money willy-nilly. You know, so these are some of the steps. And thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more time, but thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the sharing, and may God bless each and everyone immensely in everything that we put forward to. We can't do it without God. We can't. Whether you call it whoever, your creator, we cannot do it without, yes, that gift that we have that is not just ours. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that blessing. We receive it, you know, the abundance of blessing, and let the church say amen.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Amen.
that blessing.
Amen.
Any last words you want to give to the team, Charlene?
You know, as I received that blessing, and I remember why we are in spaces that we are. When you think you're in a place by accident or just by facts, remember that your journey has been predestined. Yeah, and your success, just as Jesus had said, you have all within you in terms of the skills that you have. And let's stop using the word small. I know the ministry and organization have to use it, but recognize that you are here for a purpose, that your business serves a purpose. And every time you serve a client and make a client happy, your business will grow. Yeah. And one more thing I want to add while we're here about business, a small business workshop, don't forget yourself in the equation. Yeah. Don't forget to take time for yourself. Even if you have to stay up late in the night at night or go through the morning. I know it happens at times to deliver something, but after that event, make sure you take time for yourself. Don't let everybody or anyone make you feel small. You're not here to be small regardless of how many people are in your business. You're here to create a positive impact and to really show people what else is possible. I always say that there's somebody looking at you regardless of how you feel, how far behind you feel, how far you feel you have to go for your success. There's somebody looking at you now that is being inspired. And for me, that is what we're here for. We're here to support each other and to inspire one another, because we all grow when we do that. Yeah. So that will be my last words. Just keep going. Stay in the game, no matter how difficult it gets. Just keep going.
Thank you very much. I see a hand and no feelings here, Charlene. You're free. Thank you for your input. Exceptional. I'm so grateful that you came and gave your talents to us. Necessary. I would love to have you back sometime. You have any type of HR.
Absolutely. I'm
Yes.
available already. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for all of you coming out there. All right. It's very encouraging to see the turnout, the feedback, the story about Man Your Boss. I know him as Man Your Boss, Brent. And I mean, if you all saw Brent, Brent is like this. I said, so I'm talking, right? In the session, and I use a word, and Brent raises up his hand and say, so what I would mean, and I explained it, and he went on, humble, down to earth guy with a purpose and a passion. And all people need is just a little nudge in the right direction, and just a little nudge at the right time, and boom, right? That's all we need. So it's sessions like this, and Suzette said it. Sometimes you learn from anybody, you can learn from everybody, and any person could have the right nudge at the right time. So in that WhatsApp group, don't feel bad to ask a question. Hey, how do I do this? This is a challenge, because amongst us, every time you see it, somebody have a challenge in one area and somebody else in the same group will have a solution. Well, we have that power in the numbers that we have. Right? There's no problem that you are having that somebody else will have either haven't gone through or know where to ask. And that is, and we have to start wielding that power. Yes, you might be a solopreneur, but you're not alone. It's all of us. Right? Plenty people want to help us. Plenty people recognize that we are the backbone of the economy. Right? That's a big thing. Government, Caribbean, the region needs us to survive, right? And thrive and make a job for somebody else. Right? So don't forget that. So thank you guys.
One last thing. I want to invite everyone to look for me on LinkedIn and please connect. And feel free to, if you have any questions, to hop on LinkedIn messaging and ask your questions. So please, 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 I don't know, sometimes people feel shy, but I'm inviting you now. Find me on LinkedIn, Charlene Pedro, and let's connect. We can continue the conversation. Yeah.
I thank you. So we're officially over. But I saw somebody hand that wanted to say something. So this is as late back from I can't remember. Yes, Lilibet. Lilibet, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. The thing that I wanted to say was, I know the other day I was scrolling through and I saw this quote saying that the business that God inspired you to create, He will also send the customers.
Amen.
That's right. That's right. Just be ready. Be ready for the customers. Anybody else want to say the 2 cents? Well, Vasha just shared Charlene's LinkedIn. Oh, Simone, let's hear.
Right.
Hear from you.
Yes, hi, good day. Simone Jackson here. Hi, Shem. I want to thank you for the great work that you're doing. We met in Saparia. That was, I think, around April.
Yes.
I do business development, coaching, and training. And I thank Charlene for this session. It's a wonderful session. I think the information is so relevant to me right now because within that leadership and management aspect, I have a nonprofit organization. I'm developing a team. So I have, persons from all over the world, and in bringing people together, you're seeing, what works, what doesn't work. Some people are, falling out. You realize, well, they fell out because they're not the right fit. And then you're getting people who are the right fit, who fit into the culture. Everybody, needs to gel together. and you're understanding it's about building relationships. It's not really about the business. It's about building relationships and being really invested in people's, personal business as well as the professional development. And once you show that genuine concern, you find the right people gravitate, and everything just falls into place really nicely. But there is, that dynamics, I can see it. There's always that up and down, in and out, and you never know where it is, but it's all falling into place. So I just can attest to that. So I just want to thank you for the great work that you're doing, and keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for sharing. That's fantastic.
All right, team. Angie, oh, hey, Angie, I didn't know you were here. Let me big up Auntie Angie. So I went to a chamber, the story with Auntie Angie. I went to a chamber of commerce meeting in Cuba. And I went up to the line, and the lady in the line was taking our names, knows me. And she said, "Hey, Shem, look at Sanam next to your competitor." And I said, "Well, I don't have competitors, only colleagues." Right? And Auntie Angie was next to me, and she was into medical repair, medical sales, and especially medical gases. And she took me on as a mentee. She was my mentor. I would come in and ask her all kinds of questions, right? And when COVID happened, and we were all sitting down, I was there saying, but I could do what I could do to help Beachin a little better. I got a call from Auntie Angie because she had to go in the Cuba hospital because of the medical gas system, right? Oxygen system that was down for many years. And she said, Shem, she needs some help to get it back up and running. And we went in there, Cuba hospital, and got that medical oxygen system back up and running. Afterwards, he went to Point Fortin and did it. And no one ever knows about Auntie Angie, right? You might even see her getting a gold medal, a Shemeon medal, but the amount of lives she would have saved, right, by doing what she did, her business, because her business exists, right? We had oxygen for Trinidad and COVID, right? The professionals, the foreigners, they were locked out of the country, right? With all the stuff, they could not come back into the country to fix anything. But because she was passionate about gases, she existed. Because she cared about people and pulling people on and connecting, the opportunity to give the talents back to the country existed. So Auntie Angie, thank you for passing through and being such a lovely example of a business in action. I hope she didn't leave before I said all that. Anyway, you'll understand. She's a good example. She's currently the Fyzabad Chamber of Commerce. Yes. Yes. Oh, Shemeon, I think there's a old hand. All right, guys. Thank you, Joel. Yes, this session is recorded. Honestly, we're supposed to share it to Facebook so it'll be available one time, but if not, it will be on the website. Let's see. Workshop series. Yeah, on our website here, Small Business Workshop series recordings. And Vasha does a good job just putting them up here. Yeah. So you have to go and find them here. All right, guys. Bye. Remember, join WhatsApp group, join the Hub.
Absolutely. Let me go and sign up.
Bye.
Bye-bye, folks.